ready for your work management tool to always work in your favor, not against you? Because sometimes they do. If efficiency and consistency is what you want, stick around. In this video, I'll show you how to customize Evernote settings so that you boost your productivity. Last year, Evernote or Bending Spoons introduced over 100 feature changes. So there is quite a bit that you may not know about the way Evernote has changed and how it works now. But with these new feature changes came additional ways that you can customize the way this software works for you. It is really a work management and life management tool. You can do things like change the appearance, use dark mode, light mode, or your system settings, depending on the device you're on. You can automate creating a daily note so that you're not having to manually create it. You can change the sideboard and remove the noise and only see the capabilities that you want to use. You can customize what you see when you open Evernote so you get right to work. You can configure the integrated calendar and task settings. I'll cover all of these and more in the full video. Let's get to it. So before we get into the customizations, let me just say I'm using Evernote 10.120.3 on the desktop, and hopefully I'll be able to show you 10.120.1 on an iPhone or an iPad. This is important to know because changes are happening so fast, you need to know what version I'm on. Setting preferences really fall into two categories. The first is those things that are on your device, their device preferences. Second is account profile preferences. On the device, you can do things like change the application settings, daily notes, calendar, keyboard shortcuts, sidebar, notes, notebooks, task, syncing folders on the desktop, syncing the database on the mobile, account profiles. Settings include things like your plan and billing, your login and security settings, your connected or integrated app settings, and additional personal information. Let me jump start by talking about the desktop customizations. So here we are on the Evernote desktop. I am on a Mac, so I'm using the Mac client and not a Windows client. But if you're on a Windows machine, it should look exactly the same. And this is the home screen, and it's just here for me to get started for you. The first thing you want to do is go up to where the icon is. I'm going to open this up so you see it. Go up to where your avatar is. And in this case, it's the account name. You can see letters there or an image there. I've got an image there and click on it. Go down to settings. This screen will pop up, and this is where the bulk of the settings that I talked about will be set, and we'll go through these bit by bit so you understand the power. And then I'm going to share with you a little bit later what my top three are, the things that I really rely on. As you can see, I have this in light mode, which is actually not my favorite, but we're going to go ahead and go with this. So the first thing is you go to preferences. That's right here in the left-hand column. There are three columns: the left column, the center column, and the far right. The far right is the options that you will be able to set. The center column is the different settings based on the area that you're in. And we're going to walk through these, okay? So in preferences, let's start with the application settings because this is where you first use Evernote. And it says, how do you want Evernote to start? Do you want to manually start it or do you want Evernote to start when you log into your computer? I have it checked. Do you want to keep a copy of my notes on this device at sign out? Now, on the desktop, I encourage you to keep a copy on the desktop so that if for some reason you're not connected to the internet, you still have access to your notes up until the point that you can reconnect and then your data will sync back up. Then enable menu tray helper is checked. I would encourage you, we'll go over the menu tray helper later on and how it increases your efficiency. But those top three, I encourage you to always check and I leave them checked. Next down is what does Evernote do when I open it? Does it start at home? Where does it start? Does it start at home? That's what I've currently got set. Does it start in notes? You'll see a master note list. I don't use this because I've got in my regular um, database, I've got tens of thousands of notes, so I don't want to see that. Do I want to start in notebooks? This may be really good if you really focus on notebooks. And then do you want to just start where you left off? Wherever you were in Evernote when you closed it. I set mine to start on home. So just think about that, what'll work for you. And you may try one setting and find out later that it will work better for you to change to one of the others. You can always come in here and make a change. Then you move down to the appearance. Do you want to use the system settings on your device? In this case, on the desktop, whatever you've got, it's dark mode or light mode on your device, it'll pick that. So if you switch your device around, Evernote will use it. Do you want to use light mode? Right now I have it set on light mode on this desk on this computer. But do you want to change it to dark mode? If you change it to dark mode, it'll always stay on dark mode no matter what your system settings are. If you pick system settings, in my case I use dark mode on my computers, it'll change back and forth depending on what my system settings are. And if I want it on light mode, I can change it to light mode. Then, how do you want Evernote to handle links, which we'll talk about in a future video? Do you want it to open in the desktop app? Do you want it to open in a web browser? Or do you want it to ask you every time so you have to make a decision? I don't like things asking me, so I always pick desktop app. But depending on if you work in a browser primarily, opening in the browser may be the better choice for you. Then, do you want it to check spelling while typing? I needed to check spelling while I'm typing because although I will have a ton of misspelled words. Then, do I want to see when I have low storage on device? I say yes. I'm not going to run out of storage. I pay attention to storage, but you may want to have that. And then, where do you want Evernote to store its local data? You can change it right here by clicking on these three dots and change it, or in the default. I have it set in default. I see where it is. I know exactly where that data is stored. So those are the core settings under the application. Now let's move down to the next item. The next item is the daily note. Now, we've gotten in the habit of creating a daily note in whatever tool we use. And I certainly have been creating a daily note for a long time. In fact, I've been creating a daily note for years. However, I was doing it manually. Every day when I started up, I needed to create the note. I have a template. I had to copy the template, put the date on it, and that was fine. It worked. Or I used text expansion. Well, now Evernote has included three templates. You can pick a daily journal, which will have certain information, or you can pick a daily to-do list, which I don't use, or you can pick a daily agenda. This is the one place I really hope over time what Evernote will do is give you the ability to customize these. For right now, these are fixed. I use journal because that's the one that makes sense for me. So it'll create this file every day, and I'll show you what one looks like in a future video. So let's go back to our settings. Now look at the calendar. So one of the customizations is you now can link your Evernote account to your Google Calendar or your Outlook calendar. So how do you want that customization to work? Do you want to pre-format notes when you create a note from an event on the calendar? Okay. That'll put in information like who's coming, what date, what time, an action item, and notes area. Do you want it to remind you to take notes before your event? How much time before do you want it to pop up, the reminder to pop up on your desktop or your mobile? Do you want it to remind you to open the note before the meeting starts or whatever time frame? So if you click on this little down arrow here, excuse me, pick one, you can say 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes at the time of the meeting start, at the end. That doesn't make sense to me. Or after the meeting ends. If I was going to do this, I don't do it this way, but if I was, I would say 5 minutes before. the meeting and notify me on the desktop. You could have it notify you on the desktop, you could have it notify you on the mobile, or neither. I do neither just because the way my brain. Then you can connect it to calendars, and I have it connected to my test Google account, and that's the calendar that you'll see in this demo. But in my regular account, I've got probably 5 different calendars connected, and they're all Google because I use Google Calendars all the time. So, whatever, if you use Google or Outlook, it's a combination right now. Moving down to keyboard shortcuts, you'll see here it says open the shortcut menu, and that's because you can customize these shortcut menus over here. You see what's new. You can also set global shortcuts, but there are quite a number of keyboard shortcuts. Key. The keyboard shortcuts are a great place. Let me move myself out of the way so you can see this a little bit better. Oops. Let me move me. You can see it, but this is quite a bit of keyboard shortcuts here that you can see. It's a lot. This is a great place if you use a Stream Deck to customize the Stream Deck so that you're not having to remember all of these keystrokes or and to be more efficient. But you can customize these keyboard shortcuts. Let's continue on and go back to our settings. Now you can move on to your sidebar. What is your sidebar? You can decide for your sidebar, do you want to see your note count? How many notes a particular notebook has in it? What are the recent notes that you've used? Show task and event creation buttons. And I'll show you these you've seen these in the original in the video number 1. So I don't need to tell you, but then this is, do you want to see those items in the sidebar? Do you want to group hidden options in more on the sidebar? Do you want to show notebooks located in spaces? Spaces we'll talk about future, but do you want to see those? Then down here under customization options, this is all about your sidebar. What do you want to see? Do you want to see if you can hide it? So it's dark, it's lightened up so you can't see it, and this becomes a little underscore. Or do you want to see it? I want to see home, shortcuts, notes you can't unhide, you can't hide, task. I'm going to hide these because I don't want to see them. Files, I'm going to hide these because I don't want to see them. The calendar in the sidebar, I'm going to hide it because I don't want to see it there. Notebooks you cannot hide. Tags I rarely use. Files, the notes that are shared with me, rarely use. Spaces, I want to see those. And the trash, do I want to see it? So I'm going to leave the trash there because I love emptying the trash. Then moving on to notes. Where do you want your note to start? Do you want it to start on the title or do you want it to start in the body? I start on the title because when I create a new note, the first thing I want to do is title that note. It's like you open up a Word document, and the first thing you want to do is give that document a name. Well, when I open up a note or a page in Evernote, a new one, the first thing I want to do is give it a name. How do I want to handle checklist items? Do I want to put a strike through or not? I leave it yes. How do I want to handle links and attachments? How do I want to handle links? Do I want to just see a title of the link? Do I want to see the text of the link? Do I want to see a preview of the content of the link? I like picking text, the words of the link. Images, how do I want to handle those? Do I want to see a preview or the title? I leave images a preview of what that image looks like. PDFs, do I want to see just a title of the PDF, a single page of the PDF, or all the pages of the PDF? I like all pages, and that way I can just scroll through the whole PDF if it's multiple pages. How do I want to handle spreadsheets that I put in? So you can put a spreadsheet in. Do you want to see the title or preview? How do I want to handle Google Drive links? Text or title? I like seeing the text. And then how do I want to handle YouTube links? Later on in a future video, you'll see why this is so powerful. But do I want to see a text, title, small preview, large preview, or full width preview? I leave it on small preview. And then external files. Do I always want to open those files? If they're local on my computer, I always want to open them. Why? I know what they are and I've put them there myself. So I'm comfortable using that. Always open external applications. Again, it's on my device. I'm only going to open applications that I know what they are. So fine. Then my note width, do I want it to fit the window or do I want it to be optimized for readability? I like using optimized for readability so that I'm reading the information and I'm not having to do a lot of scrolling left and right. Then we move on to notebooks, and this is really just one item. What is your default notebook? You must have a default notebook. When you create an account, we talked about this, it's going to create a default notebook, but you can change the name of that notebook. You can change what the default notebook is over time. And so for me, it's my inbox. And that's where if I don't designate a notebook, a note that comes in is going to go into this notebook called inbox. And then your task. It now has task management in it. So the first thing is, what's my default task note? If I don't designate a note, where is it going to put a task? And for me, in this, it's in things to do. It can be any note in your system, but pick a note. Then, do you want to turn on automatic task reminders? If you're a person who likes reminders, check it. Then you can choose, if you check that, you can choose up to 5 different times that it'll notify you. At due time, 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before, 30 minutes before, an hour before, a day before, a week before. How far in advance? I personally don't like notifications, so I don't turn these on. So those are the key preferences, and you want to think about how you work in order to make these work for you. There is no one size fits all. So whatever works for you and the way you operate is what's important. Go through those settings and to make those decisions. And if you need to change them, it's okay to change it. It's perfectly fine. If you find you set something and it's just not quite tweaked enough, it's great to go back in and make a change. Now you know where. But there are even more settings that you can change. I told you there's a lot. And these over 100 feature changes, Bending Spoons added a lot of customization. So let's go back and look at some more customizations. All right. So now we've just gone through the preferences for the application area. We can go into sync folders. So if you can create a folder and have Evernote watch it. And then you can connect that folder and say, when I put a file in this folder, so let's just say I'm going to watch my downloads folder. I wouldn't do this in real life, but I'm going to watch my downloads folder. And let me remove this one I was playing. So every time there's a file in this folder, Evernote will automatically create a new note and put that file in that note in Evernote. And you can include subfolders here, which I don't believe that feature is working. So whether you pick it or not. So right now it's saying there are 3 files in this folder. Do you want to import that? They will be imported. Apply the changes. And now that folder is connected and Evernote will create one note for each file that's in that folder. Okay. Then the rest of these, plan and billing, login security, these are all things that you change on the profile, which we'll go into at a later time. Let me go back and talk about this import. You can move data back and forth between different applications in the Evernote. Some, like docs for Word, text files, HTML, markdown files, it'll just create the note and put the content of the note of that file in the note. Others, like Apple Notes and OneNote and Notion, it will you create a PDF and it'll insert the PDF in the note as an attachment. So those are other customizations that you can have and you can use to make it efficient. So those are the desktop settings that you can configure in Evernote to make this work for you and be simple, and it's always set up. Again, there's no right way or wrong way for anyone. Your brain works differently, the way you function works differently. So make it unique to you. What's important to the way you operate and the way you want your system to work for you, your work management to work for you. That's what's important. But knowing that you can customize each and every one of those settings is what's important. So for me, I really dislike light mode. So I will go ahead and change light mode to dark mode in my settings because I can't, it's like a flashlight in my eyes. So I will use light mode. I will use dark mode. I used light mode to show you that you can do it either way. Okay. And in truth, what I do is I use system settings because I know for me on every device I have, I've got every device set to dark mode. And that way I don't have to think about whether it's light or dark. It's going to be whatever the device is. Those are the settings for the desktop. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the next area of customization. And that's going to be on the mobile device because there are some items that are different on the mobile device. Hello, we are back, and I am going to share with you here with Evernote Simplified the settings for your cell phone. Again, this is one of those on device settings, and there are a couple that will carry over from what you set up on your Mac or your computer, and then there are others that one that is specifically unique to your phone. Just so you're aware, I am using an iPhone. I'm running iOS 18.2 on it, and I am on Evernote 10.120.1 on this iPhone. So that's what I'm using today. And similarly, you see the phone here. You click on your avatar, you go into settings, and you see very similar settings to what you see on the desktop. At the very top is camera settings, dark mode settings, navigation, notes, daily note, notebooks, task, offline. This is one that's unique, passcode, unique, calendar, sync is also unique. And then there are more settings. These more settings get into the profile settings that you get into on the website. So let's look at the camera settings. So if I click on this camera setting, it either says save pictures to the camera roll or not. I have it turned off. You can turn it on. Go back. You can set the phone to use device settings, light mode, or dark mode. In a previous video, I shared that I use the device settings, and because my devices are always on dark mode, my settings are always dark mode. Navigation is what is your default launch page? Do you want to create? You want to go into notes? You want to go to notebooks, shortcuts, task, calendar, tags, shared notes, or spaces? I have my default launch page as create. I'm going to change it to notebooks just for this discussion. Then customize navigation is the next item under navigation. You can change the position. This is similar to turning on and off features in the desktop app, and those features that were turned off in the desktop app carry over to the mobile app. So I'm going to leave those just as they were in the desktop app. Go back to notes. Here, you're going to turn on what advanced editing features you want, list, checkboxes, dividers, URLs, email, code block, formula block, and quote block. I do not use formula blocks, which is a LaTeX. And if you don't know LaTeX, let's ignore it. So I'm going to turn formula block off. I'm going to leave the rest of these on because I do use them. Then links and attachments is how do you want to handle links and attachments on your device? Evernote links, you want them to be preview or text. I like seeing text, so I'm going to change it to that. Images, preview, or title. I like seeing the preview of the image so I can see it quickly. Google Drive links, I like text, so I'll change it to that versus the title. And YouTube links, small preview, this carried over from the desktop configuration. Go back. Your next set is note count, note content. Match phone settings, note content size, normal, large, extra large, and then you see the headers, the large header, medium header, small header, and then regular text, normal text. Leave that, it just carried over. Edit protection, which is protect your notes from accidental tags and disable tags in I don't use tags, so I'd leave that turned off. Strike through on your checklist, carry over, anchor links, carry over, collapsible sections, carry over, how you want it to start in the title or body. Mine is title, carry over from the desktop configuration. Daily note, it's a carryover from the desktop configuration. Notebooks, it sets your default notebook. It's a carryover from the desktop configuration. Task is your default task note, carryover from your desktop configuration. Offline is unique. This is make all available offline. This is when you don't have internet connection. But I use manage offline notebooks so that I can choose which notebook I want available when I know I'm going to be disconnected from the internet. So you can select these notebooks and it'll bring the notebook down to the device so that you have access whether you have internet connection or not. Similarly, you can bring down notes, individual notes to the phone, the mobile device, if you don't have internet connection. And once you're done and you get back to where you have connection, you can clear off of that offline content and clean up the disk space on your machine, on your device. Passcode is if you want to require a passcode to get into the application. On this one, I have it turned off. If you turn it on, it'll require you to put a passcode in. Show completed content and widgets, unlock with Face ID, change your passcode. Those are settings you can set. I'm going to leave them off for here, but in reality, on my production version, I actually have these turned on. The calendar, pre-formatted calendar events, I'm going to turn that off because I don't use it. And then whatever your calendars are that is connected to either Google Calendar or Outlook Calendar, it's going to show up here as well as the default or built-in Evernote calendar. Last is sync. This is one place that's different than the desktop. Sync is force Evernote to sync with the main database to your phone and every place. So this is a quick way. If you're not sure you're getting notes synced fast enough, you can come in here, click sync now, and it'll force Evernote to sync all of your databases together. And then more settings, again, go to the settings that you can change on the website. Those are the primary settings that you want to change on the mobile device. We'll go into the profile settings on the website next. Okay, now we're back and we're looking at the profile settings on the website, evernote.com. Settings.action is where I am. And these are the settings that you can only change either on the desktop or the browser or the mobile device for your profile. And it's four areas: plan and billing, login and security, connected apps, and personal information. So I'm going to look at these very quickly with you. Of course, it tells you what kind of account you have, whether you have the personal, free, or professional. This account for demo is a personal account. What your capabilities are, your upload capacity every month, what you can do, create, manage, and assign tasks, connect multiple calendar accounts, have full home customization for the home dashboard, advanced search options, and then you can upgrade there. This is under account summary. And you can go down to your level. You can see your monthly usage for the month and how many days remain before the month ends. The note size limit, 200 megabyte for a single note. The monthly upload limit, 10 gigabytes. So I can upload 10 gigabytes of data, and the largest note is 200 megabytes. The email account that's attached to that account, how long you've been a member, and the email address where you can email notes into Evernote. Don't worry, I'm going to reset this email address as soon as I'm finished here. Then you can get into your personal settings. This gets into what you want your name to be when it display your English language display. Mine is English. I'm an American. I speak English. Then auto filing. I never turn this on because I want to file my notes myself, especially for those sent in by email. You will just, I've learned by practice to not turn that on because it tries to figure out where to file and tag your notes and it usually doesn't get it right. What emails you want to receive, Evernote news, tips, and stories, monthly newsletters, Evernote for Teams information, surveys. I turn all of that off because I don't want to see it. And then I would like Evernote to notify me about shared content I receive. I do want to know that. And then, do I want to include get Evernote information when I email notes? No, I don't. And then if you make changes, you click save, the changes are saved. Moving on to the next item, it's billing. It just tells you when your billing period is and what your invoice was and when you paid for it. Then it tells you which devices you have connected. And because I have a paid account, I can have multiple devices connected. You see here it treats Evernote Web as a device, even though it's not a physical device. So I've got 4 devices connected. Then it gives you your profile. You can change your photo there. That's the little where the avatar is. Again, the full name that you want connected, the email address. You can change the email address associated with the account. And you can close your Evernote account. Be very careful that you don't close your Evernote account. Next is reminders. Do you want Evernote to send you a digest of reminders every day in email? I don't because I pay attention to it. But if you need to see that, you can have it sent to you. And then select preferences for join notebooks, show notifications for subscriptions. Go down to context sources. Next, I'm turning all of these off because I don't want to get any of this information. So you can either turn them on, the Wall Street Journal, TechCrunch, Pando Daily, Fast Company, Inc., and Nyckel. If you want to get any of that information, turn it on. Oh, Lifehacker, keep going, and Forbes. I turn them all off because I don't want any of that. If I wanted to get it, I would subscribe and get it separately. Then your security summary is next. Your email address, your password, whether you want to enable two-factor authentication for your account. This is a demo account. I don't have it enabled for this account. I do have it enabled for my regular account. And I'll probably enable it after I go through this. Then applications that you have and where. I've got the Evernote Rep Clipper for a bunch of devices, and I'm not sure why it's showing me so many. I'm going to clean some of this up later. I'm not going to do all of that now. So, and then Evernote for Mac and Evernote for iPhone. So this gives you what applications have access and it's authorized for that account. Your access history is next, when you last and where from and your IP address. Yeah, I'm going to blur this out so you can't see it because I don't want you to see my IP address or where I am located. So I will blur that and you won't see it. Connected services, if you have, you can connect to your Apple ID and you can connect to Google. I have it connected to my test and demo Google account. And then your account status is last. So those are the profile settings. And here you again, you can close your Evernote account if you so choose. That is the profile settings that you can configure only on the website, and that is important. Again, it's plan and billing, login and security, connected apps, and additional personal information. And there are a series of choices down the left-hand sidebar of the website. And those settings take care of everything you want to customize for your Evernote account. This is on your desktop. In my case, I'm showing a Mac desktop. I've shown you the mobile settings, and now I've shown you the profile settings that are available on the web only access on evernote.com. I will see you in the next video as we continue this journey of Evernote made simple. So I want to thank you for watching this video in the Evernote Simplified series and encourage you to subscribe to the channel because that is a fantastic way to support us without costing you anything. And you will be helping us out by clicking that subscribe button and by ringing the bell so you'll know when more content is released. Now, the algorithm is going to show you another video to watch, and I agree with it. Go ahead and I'll see you over there.